My Hero Academia, the hype behind you felt as it couldn't live up. People pressed me on and on to watch this show, and recommendations from reputable websites didn't help at all. And at last I had gone through to start watching the show, expecting that all the hype would leave me feeling underwhelmed. But boy, was I wrong. The anime was delivered so well, and hands down goes as winning champion for a sleeper that no one saw coming. Of course, if you read the manga, you could have some assumption to know it would become popular, but honest to heart, we haven't had an anime with such a heartfelt, warm, action-packed underdog anime for quite some time. And the funny thing about the anime is it isn't really an anime. Don't get me wrong, it does feel somewhat like an anime and looks somewhat like one too, but the art direction and classic tropes in most anime are not here. No lolis, no pointless romances, no shopping scenes, etc, etc, etc. None of it is here. The anime reminded me a lot of Soul Eater. When I first saw Soul Eater, I was blown away from the concept. It was so different, wacky but fun, tons of action, and that's one of the best ways to get a non-anime person into anime without crashing into major culture shock issues. And though I'm ranting on and on and on about it, I'll just wrap it up with the final statement so we can review it. It came from nowhere, looked different, so I brushed it off. Heard about so much that I began hating it just from hearing about it, decided to see what it was all about, feeling like the hype would have ruined the experience for me, only to have it blown away. Why? Because I expected generic anime tropes, which there was none of. It was a roller coaster of literally not knowing what would happen and excited for what could happen. So let's get on about talking about the story. So the story is good, not enough, but in 13 episodes, I got enough to want so much more. The characters are awesome, we don't learn too much about each one character, so I desperately hope for a second season with at least 24 to 25 episodes. But the story is about Izuku, who is a kid who lives in a world where superheroes have become a reality and an actual career, and Izuku has dreamed to become a hero his whole life, but his dream is cut short when they find out he doesn't have any superpowers, or quirks, which is how they are called in this world. But in a turn of events, he meets his hero face to face, who provides him a way to become a hero. And soon after, the story follows the events that take place as he goes to UA High School, which is a high school that helps graduate the next generation of heroes. So now let's move on to the characters. So the story centers around an interesting cast of characters that I hope get explored much more than it did. But for supporting roles, it was well done. But the main character is Izuku, whose nickname is Deku, which was a nickname given to him because he didn't know when to quit, which he originally hated, but then learns to embrace that nickname. Another main character is his childhood friend slash bully slash rival, Katsuki, who Izuku calls Gachan. And yeah, that's a lot of slashes, but it really depends how you perceive their relationship, because in some instances, they are friends. And finally, last but not least, All Might, who is considered the world's best superhero. And the main reason why I felt the character cast was amazing was that each character that came up, I just wanted to learn much more about them. Every time I saw a character, I was like, oh, what's that? And ooh, what's that? And over again, I just wanted to learn more about each one. So I think that's a good start for supporting roles. Now let's take a look at animation. I love that in the show looks very different from the really nice, sharp looking quality anime shows that have been coming out recently. And it's nothing bad against those styles. It's just that this anime feels very different and unique, and also reminds me of a comic book. And the reason might be because of the coloring and the way they shade in the show. Also, guess who's behind this anime? Yup, Bones. For some reason, Bones is really good at bringing manga to life in terms of style, and this is one of my most favorite styles, especially since the artistic choice really suits this anime very well. Now let's hear a little bit about the music. So the music throughout the anime is very well suited for what's going on. I wouldn't say they went out of their way to make an OST to listen through your daily commute or anything like that, but most certainly it wasn't terrible. I think that the way it shines is that it's good enough to excite the action but doesn't try to steal its spotlight. And opening and endings are very good. I love the openings because they really get you excited for the show, and typically each ending ends very softly or very, how'd I say, with no closure, and the ending really suits that mellow mood you feel when you want to see more, so I actually kind of enjoyed both of them. So transitioning over to the enjoyment, I'm sure you can already tell I love this anime. Just like I love Soul Eater, Non-Ambiguity, Defrag, and so on. I enjoyed this show and binge watched this whole show overnight. Like, I'd say I finished like at 7 a.m. when I started at like maybe 9 or 8 p.m. And the show never skips a beat. There's always something going, and the moments when it takes a breather usually is opportunity to entertain and work with the characters to give them a little bit more personality and overall roundedness. This show will definitely be a show I use as reference when looking at other anime shows that have action, because at the end of the day, this was a hero's journey kind of show where we follow a character's struggles to become something he basically can't. Like literally, they tell him he can't be a superhero and he goes against that. So I really enjoyed this anime. So let's wrap up this anime. So the anime is really good. Really good. But it has a couple of things to work out still and give much more detail about. Like something I haven't even touched on, villains. Villains are very important to why heroes exist in general. They do exist in this world. And the creator tries to give a league of their own in some way, but it never really goes into it. Same goes with side characters. We learn about their abilities and their personalities, but we don't learn much about their story or why they want to become heroes. But a lot probably has to do with its huge constraint. 13 episodes, that's all they had, which for 13 episodes, I think they focused on the right topics. They focused on the main cast while shining light on other characters, so you know they aren't just fill-in characters that matter to no one. They even talk about a second season at the end of the series, so you know that they do want to come back, and I hope it seriously happens. The anime had great visuals, great characters, good actors, action-packed music, and it basically has it all. And that's just the thing, it doesn't have it all. It's almost there, but it's not there yet. So I wouldn't say this is a must watch, but it is a should watch. You don't have to drop everything you're doing and watch it immediately. I did, because once I started watching, I couldn't stop. So I do highly recommend that you should watch this anime, although there is no hurry too. And hopefully during the second season, they can get all those beats that they missed, like villains, better. So I hope you enjoyed my review of My Hero Academia, and it's been a tough year for me. 2016, I went from having no work to having no place to kind of having a place to live, then to having a place to live, then to having a job, and going from broke to somewhat survivable income. And I'm sure you noticed that this anime review looks different and also has kind of no rating system, and the reason behind that is that a lot of people kind of didn't like the. It's not that they didn't like it, it's more that I didn't feel comfortable with doing it anymore. The reason why is that a lot of the times numbers don't seem to fairly justify. I mean, it gives a small kind of look at how people feel about it, but it doesn't help explain whether someone should watch it or not. I mean, technically speaking, an anime show could have amazing visuals, amazing everything, but the story could suck and it could have an average rating. Does that mean it's worth watching? I mean, that's really up to you, isn't it? Because, for example, a lot of Michael Bay movies and stuff like that are really hated upon, but visually, you can enjoy that movie visually, but not enjoy it for everything else, you know? So that's why I'm going to be changing over to maybe recommending and stuff like that, like rather than actually having numbers. And also it'll be a lot easier for me to edit the videos, because editing the numbers wasn't easy. Mainly just, it was always about moving the position and then moving the animations with it. And I don't know why Sony Vegas does it like that, but that's just how it is. So this has been 8-Bit Otaku, and wait, really quick, I also wanted to mention that there's another video that I have down the pipeline, but that one's gonna look like the old review system, so I know you guys might not like that, so just giving you a heads up. I just switched it with My Hero Academia, and the one coming before this is Gakugurashi, so I'm not really sure which order I'm releasing these in, but most likely I'm going to release Gakugurashi first and then this one, but in case the other one comes out first, which it might actually. Kind of confusing. Anyways, this has been 8-Bit Otaku. Jana!
静けさが締め込むよね息を止めて